Hey guys, Caroline here. In this video, I'm going to do the first strategy in dealing with gubbing, which is something that I mentioned in the previous video. Now, apologies in advance, it's going to be a little bit technical, so I hope it doesn't go too much over the heads of people. But there's several guides online. If you have a look at what I'm looking at right now, I've gone to Google and just typed in what is IESnare. And if you have a look at this, these are all match betting type blogs here. So IESnare is a piece of software that the bookmakers automatically install on your computer without necessarily telling you. And what it does is supposedly it monitors for things like fraudulent activity and illegal activity, somebody doing something really dodgy. That's what it was designed for. But nowadays they use it to kind of figure out if we are a matched bettor or someone doing arbitrage or anything they don't like. Now, in terms of, first of all, you might think, is this even legal for them to install it on the computer? And the chances are yes, because it'll be buried away in their terms and conditions. So I'm not even going to bother going into all of that. I'm just going to tell you what it is, how to see if you have it, how to block it. Okay, now, first of all, what it does. So it monitors all kinds of activity on your computer. So there's a few things to point out. Firstly, it is on the computer only. It can affect PCs, Macs, and I believe Linux operating systems as well. What it does not do is affect mobile devices. So if you are doing your match betting on a mobile phone or a tablet or some other kind of mobile device, then you shouldn't need to worry about this at all. But if you're using a computer of some kind, then it's most likely going to be on your computer, and one of the things that it does is it monitors all of the websites that you visit. Now, if you consider, have a look at these sites here: Justice for Punters, matchbets.com, bankofbets.com, matchbettingguy.com, and then imagine you're going on, say, that Odds Monkey that was on last week. All of these sites are to do with match betting. And if you sign up to a bookie, Ladbrokes, Coral, William Hill, and they're using this software, and they say, oh look, this person's visiting all these match betting websites, you can bet that they know that you're a match bettor, and that's going to be just a huge red flag. So ideally, the best time to sort this out is before you even start. So of course, that's not going to be possible for everyone. If you've already started match betting and you've never heard of this, just do it as soon as you can. So that's what it is. So the second thing is, how do you actually find it? So you need to find out if it's installed on your computer, and to do that you need to run a little command line on the computer. So I'm going to go to Start and Run, which is not on the screen unfortunately, but what you do is you basically press your Windows key and R, I think, run, and you type in CMD, and that is going to bring up a command box. She says, there we go, took a moment. So this is a command window. So this is something that some people might never have seen, but don't worry about it. So again, I'm doing this on Windows, as you can see, Windows System 32. I don't have the instructions for this for Mac or Linux, but if you just go and Google it, you'll find all these instructions, how to block and remove it, how to block it, and so forth. So you can Google it and find it, but I'll just do a video anyway. So there is a special command you need to type in. So it begins with dir, which stands for directories, kind of a listing of directories. Then we're going to do /s. And what that means is do a recursive search for everything inside folders. And then we do mp star.com. So what that means is the star is a wildcard. So it's looking for some kind of file or folder on your computer that starts with an mp, has something or other in the middle, and then has a .com. Right. And now it's going to take a moment. So this is checking my C drive. So I'm just going to pause the video for a moment while it while it searches away, and then I'll come back once it's finished. Oh, there we go. It's done. Right. So if we have a look at what it's done, it's found something called mpsnare.iesnare.com. This is the directory, and look at where it's found it. app data, roaming, Opera software. Now Opera is a browser, so this isn't my Chrome browser, which is what I usually use. This is Opera. Shockwave flash, writable root, shared objects, and blah, 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 whatever on earth that is. But what's interesting, look at the date. 15th of January 2016. Now I'm recording this video on the 26th of August 2018, and I have never done any kind of betting in my life before, or if I have, it was like 15 years ago and with a different computer, so I have no idea how this got on my computer. So one thing you can do is simply delete it. So if I go and navigate to that file, to this folder, I'll find this directory and I can simply delete the files. Now the problem with doing that is it's just going to get put back again. Once I start signing up to the bookies, they can just go and put this on my computer every single time. And so it's kind of a waste of time trying to stop it being installed. You're never going to stop it. What's more important is to block it so that it can't actually do any harm. Right, so this is where we get to the slightly more technical bit. So what I've done is I've opened up Explorer in Windows, and if you have a look at the top here, this is the path that I've gone to. So on my computer, this is my main drive, the C drive. So this is where Windows is installed, and under Windows I've gone to System32 directory, and then there's one called Drivers and a folder called Etc. And in there you'll have these files, and there's one that is simply called Hosts, and you can just right click to edit it. Now I have something installed called Notepad, but you can just go to notepad.com, just your ordinary Notepad application on Windows and edit it. So again, if you're using Mac or Linux, you're going to have to follow instructions for doing this on your particular operating system. Okay, so what is this file and why are we looking at it? The hosts file is something to do with the way your computer communicates with other computers across the internet. And you can set up various rules in this file which specify where certain IP addresses or host names will be routed. Okay, I know that sounds really confusing. Let me actually show you the file that I'm talking about. Okay, I've got the hosts file loaded up in my Notepad application here, and this all looks very confusing, but don't worry about it. The top is likely to be standard, and you're almost certainly going to have this line in here. Don't worry about what any of this means. Now, anything that starts with this hash symbol is simply a comment. So you'll see here that I've got hashtag block IESnare. So that's just simply a comment that I've put in saying that the following lines are all to do with blocking this IESnare. So you've got two parts to this. The first part is this number 127001. It's an IP address, and it's a special IP address which always corresponds to this local computer. So it doesn't matter what computer you're running, 127001 always means this computer. And then we've got a whole bunch of domain names which relate to IESnare or the company which designed it, iEvasion, and there's a whole bunch of these in there. What this does is it means that what the software does is it sends information about your computer, about your browser and your internet activities, and it sends it over to those domain names, sending your private information. By putting this 127001, it causes that communication back to this domain name to get routed. Instead of going to, say, this domain name, instead of going there, it will simply route it back to this current computer. So it just ends up in an infinite loop where it can't actually do anything. So it can't send the information. So that effectively blocks it. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the video showing a file which has all of this data, and all you need to do is simply copy and paste it underneath this line. So now I'll show you how to actually test to see if that's worked. So to test this, we're going to use another little tool, and it's called ping. Ping is just a word for kind of testing a domain name across the internet, and we're just going to pick one of these IESnares. So we'll simply do IESnare.com. You could pick any of them. Press return. So this is pinging it, and this is what we're going to get. So this again, this looks very, very confusing, but don't worry, there's only two things you need to look at. First of all, we want to make sure this is reply from 127001. If it has any other number, any other IP address in here, then it hasn't worked. And if we have a look at the bottom, minimum, maximum, average, they all say 0 milliseconds. It means it hasn't worked. So if you've got any other number in there, sorry, when I say it hasn't worked, what I mean is trying to communicate with this IESnare.com hasn't worked, which is what we want. We don't want this computer to be able to communicate with IESnare.com or any of those other domain names. And we want this to say 0. That's what we want to see. Now, one problem with this particular technique is that it's not future-proof. If we come back to that file and have a look at some of these, ci-mp-snare, admin.iesnare, iovation, mx.iesnare, snare.iesnare. There's so many of them, and if they decide to add more domain names in the future, we'd need to add them into this file. So it's something that's probably worth Googling every now and then to keep on top of it. But for the moment, these ones, which I put a link to the sort of what's called a paste file in the description, these ones will keep you going. So again, apologies for the technical video. If you do find it confusing, it might be something you're better off just Googling, and you will need to do that if you are on Mac or Linux. But do this as soon as you possibly can, ideally before you even set up any betting accounts, any accounts on bookmakers, to stop them passing on your private information.